Okay, so we are recording and we're officially starting our Q&A session, our data science Q&A session. I'm so excited to have Krishna with me. He and I actually used to work together at ZS. We were data science consultants there. He was definitely like superior to me there and was a treasure to work with. And I found out recently that he was now applied scientist at Amazon. I'm like, wow, this is literally one of the most coveted positions in all of Bang. And just to chatting with him and seeing how he got there, I immediately thought all of you guys need to hear this. All of you guys need to hear kind of how he got to where he's at and the tips and tricks that he used to get to where he's at. I think I mentioned this in my description. He background is actually in civil engineering, which I'm sure he's going to get to, which is even crazier. Think about that. Civil engineer at literally the most coveted data science positions in all of Bang, right? And like I said, I'm also excited because I don't know the nitty gritty as well. So I'm really excited to hear what he has to say because I'm going to be learning just as much as you guys are. Before he does hop in, I wanted to kind of share a couple links in the description. So, you know, I always keep these free and I'll always keep these free, right? That's always going to be the case. And I want this to be a free resource. But as quote unquote, oh, sorry about that, guys. One sec. As quote unquote admission, I will ask you guys to do one thing. While, oh man, give me a second. I am messing things up. Give me a second. Perfect. Cool. So I never ask for anything in return usually, right? But I will ask for something this time. Please head to my YouTube channel and subscribe. I'll take that as admission for this session. I know there's plenty of you guys in here and your support is absolutely invaluable. And I will always try to put out free content. And what I'd ask for in return is you to support and subscribe to my channel. I think like I said, would really appreciate that. And I don't know, it'll mean a lot to me to kind of get your support moving forward. I see people want gather review. Okay, did that. Yeah, so I'll give it a couple minutes. Please go to my YouTube channel and subscribe, and then we'll kick off this webinar. I feel weird asking this, but I think it's fair, right? And I really appreciate all of your support and the fact that you guys are even attending this, right? Like this is your afternoon, your middle of the night, and you guys are spending it with us and you're here trying to learn from us. And I am privileged to have all of you join us today. So I'm gonna give it a couple more, like one more minute. Please go ahead and subscribe. I see a ton of subscriptions coming in. Oh, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Like I said, I feel uncomfortable asking these things, but I really appreciate you guys just kind of helping me out and supporting me through this whole process. So enough of my promo. I'm gonna hand it off to Krishna, who's gonna take us on this journey and teach us a wealth of kind of tips that we can all leverage in our day-to-day. With that, Krishna, I'm excited to have you.
Thank you, Madhav. Very humbling introduction. I'm a very niche, still very young into data science. I'm still learning. There's a lot more to learn for me. I think I haven't even learned even a tip of water in an ocean so far. So thank you for the very humbling introduction, Madhav. Okay. First of all, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, all kinds of good to everyone who have joined with us. Thank you, Madhav, for actually organizing it. It's such a pleasure to meet people, to meet folks who have similar aspiring interests, and we're all able to share in a common platform. Thank you, Madhav, for that. Okay, with this, let me share my screen. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
This is just typical COVID things, right? Sharing screen, things, Zoom breaking down. Give us a second, guys.
Looks like
what's going on? Can I help out? So you should be able to. My advanced sharing allows all panelists to share.
Okay.
Yeah. If you want, you can send it to me, and I don't mind sharing it.
Sure, I'll do that.
Okay. Just bear with us, guys. I appreciate everyone's patience. Awesome. You guys are great. I've never heard that, Saharsh. I'm gonna tell my mom that. That's too funny.
Yeah, I have sent it out.
You guys are cracking me up. I guess for everyone in the recording, apparently I am a young sononigam to some of the folks on the chat, which I'm not so sure about, but I'll take your word for it. I swear, these are so fun. I feel like it's been like 2 months since I've done this, and I'm just so happy right now. This is so much fun. Again, you guys are awesome. Thanks for being patient. Seriously, really appreciate it.
Well appreciated.
Yep. And Krishna, feel free to send me the.
Yeah, I already sent it out to you.
Oh, what email? You sent it to my Gmail? Sorry, guys. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, it hasn't come in. Are you the Thakur Madhav?
Yeah, I sent it to the email what you just sent me the Zoom link right now.
Okay, so that's a different email. Are you sure? The Madhav.Thakur? Sorry, guys. This is an unfortunate delay. Okay, there you go. Okay, perfect. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Krishna? Okay, perfect. So go ahead and let me know when you want me to go along.
Sure. Thank you, Madhav. Apologies, everyone, for the delay. So quickly going into the agenda, I want to talk a little bit about myself, what are my interests, where I'm from. Then we'll go into my journey of data science. How did I transition from civil engineering to my current position in my 10 years of professional career? And finally, I would like to discuss some important tips for aspiring data scientists, like what are the things which needs to be taken care of, and what are the things which I would take care of if I was given a chance to start my data science career today. So with this, we'll go into about me. I'm a native of Hyderabad, from India. Currently, I'm residing in Seattle. Uh, I'm a big foodie buff, so I enjoy cooking. Whenever I have time, I just cook for my friends. Uh, I am a marathon runner, so I used to follow this concept of run, walk, run. Uh, and I would try to like reinforce like how this concept of run, walk, run is also applicable in our data science transition career as well, which we'll be going into deep detail when we go through my journey. And the favorite data science topic to me is recommender systems. Fortunately, I was able to get opportunity to build 3 recommender systems in my career ship so far, and the fourth one is on the way. So it has been one of my favorite data science topics for my learning. With this, we will go into my journey into data science. So to start with that, uh, so in 2010, I graduated with my bachelor's in civil engineering. I also went on to become a construction engineer. I was building thermal power plant in India. Uh, and somewhere around in 2013, like 3 years down my road, I was reading some articles about a boom called data science coming up back then. uh, Civil engineering is and like any engineering field which is non computer science related, I feel they are all math heavy. So we do have heavy mathematical simulations, primarily in hydrodynamics, structural designing, especially for mechanical. If you look there, and like there's a heavy simulations in thermodynamics involved. So uh, one key element of data science, what is simulations or some kind of statistical mathematical formulations, are something which we are all familiar with. So while I was going through these articles in data science, one key element of what got struck to me was how are these mathematical concepts are being converted into a business element of it, which actually struck to me uh, that there is some opportunity for me to learn and then have that as my career path. So I had little to nil experience in programming till 2013. Uh, I think I might have done some C programming back then, but after that I had no touch of that. No idea of like what is pointers and all that. So with that, what I did was before I decided to pursue into data science bubble, I thought let me explore some fundamentals of R programming. So back then I was seeing many budding data scientists were actually working on R. So I started some fundamentals on it. I started reading about that. And then I felt comfortable that, okay, this is an area where I can learn. I can do some programming on R. I can learn some mathematical formulations since I have some background in my engineering. With that, I jumped to do my master's program in data science in 2014. Now, here I would like to give a first key takeaway of my small journey from 2010 to 2014. The key takeaway I want to have here is that never back out just because you are not from a computer science background. The programming languages like R, Python, whatever we have right now, like Scala, all these uh, have a very strong online support with the free communities where we have tons of opportunity to actually learn and build our skill set. So if you want like if you feel you are from a non-CS background and then you think, okay, I would like to pursue a master's degree, take a stab at it. Like if you want to really pursue a career in that, you can pursue in that. But one thing is that like when I joined in 2014 for my master's program, back then there was limited online resources, which actually made me take the master's program. But right now, since we have lots of online materials, I think it's now it comes to a choice, like whether do you want to pursue a master's program or do you want to learn it on your own using online materials. But back then, since due to restrictions, is where I went ahead with the master's program. Um, and During my master's journey, what I was doing was that along with learning, I was also trying to teach whatever I was able to learn that. So back then I used to do some freelancing work, and then some kind of mentoring to the undergrad students in the University of Singapore. So that actually like gave me still I should say like that instilled me some confidence that I can learn R, I can learn data science, I can start applying them, uh, and then that actually start like I should say like that helped me like start my career in data science journey. So it's not the master's program, rather the additional work what I was doing, where I was trying to teach and learn parallelly, that actually like helped me start that. So this leads to my second key takeaway, is that
So I just
create
want
your
to I want to pause there because that is
Sure.
such a phenomenal point, right? You mentioned you did this whole master's program, and sure that helped you, is great for the resume, but that wasn't even the key thing that helped you build the confidence to get that first job, which I think is such an important point because more often than not, when I look at candidates, I could tell they just gone through the coursework, they gone through the Coursera certificate, but they just went through it. They didn't actually sit down and say, do they officially learn it? Have they actually understood the concepts, right? So anyone listening to this, if you're going to go through a master's, you're going to go through a certificate, etc., it's not going through it. That's the key part. It's doubling down and seeing, did I actually understand it? And you know what? That is daunting because more often than not, when you first do that, you realize, oh, wait, maybe I don't understand it that well. And a lot of people aren't willing to take that risk and ask themselves that question. And obviously, that has paid dividends for you, which, like I said, I just wanted to highlight that because it's such a great point that goes under the radar quite a bit. So, yeah, please continue.
Thank you, Madhav. Yeah, that leads to my second key takeaway, is that create your own mechanism which encourages you to learn and push your boundaries. Never think like a degree or some kind of a certificate would actually like give you the path. Rather, you should have some kind of a mechanism where you constantly learn and push your boundaries to go beyond. That is something which, that is the point where you can say you have kickstarted your data science career. Uh, Continuing with that, in 2015, I joined ZS as a data scientist. ZS is a management consulting firm, and I was fortunate enough to be among the first three data scientists what they have hired back then. Had a very great, strong mentorship over there. Built my first recommender model back then, and it was deployed into production. Uh, one good thing what happened at ZS was that in 2018 I was able to co-author two books in R. So the journey how it happened towards writing was that uh, I had some good mentors at ZS. I was able to like collaborate with them. One of the outcome of collaboration was, why don't we start writing something what we already know of? Now that intrigued uh, myself and then one of my partner at ZS to actually co-author two books in R, which was one of the key important elements, where I should say like I was able to translate the complex nitty-gritties of data science into simple and digestible concepts, and then like publish them in like in the form of books. So like the kind of book writing actually helped me a lot. So over here, I would like to mention a third key takeaway, is that identify right mentors, right? And then make sure what are the good tangible outcomes of collaboration. So one of the outcome what I had, fortunate enough, was writing books, but there are tons of outcomes, like you can have blogs, you can have your own videos, you can have your tutorial channels, you can have papers, you can publish articles, you can publish into journals. So Try to find right mentors in your organization, or maybe in your meetups, maybe in your peers, and then try to identify a goal, and then push for that. That will actually instill a lot of professional bonding, as well as it will be a brownie point on your own resume. Now, this helped me get my next job at Amazon in 2019, where again I was fortunate enough to build recommender systems, running tons of experimentations. Uh, so this was my whole journey as a like in a nutshell. So I just want to reiterate key takeaways from my own journey is that never back out because you're not from a CS background. Programming is something what we can learn. It's simple, but it requires practice definitely. And then that's something that that should not be one of the barrier of entering into data science. Second thing is that create your own mechanism of how you can encourage to learn and push your own boundaries. And third thing, have a right mentor, have a right key outcome, work with your mentor, work and then like try to achieve those outcomes, which can be a brownie points on your resume. With this, I will switch to my next segment of some simple tips for aspiring data scientists.
Can you elaborate a little bit on your role at Amazon and just kind of what you're doing there?
Sure. At Amazon, I'm currently at Amazon Advertising. So at Amazon Advertising, we are currently running tons of experiments in order to know what kind of how we can improve the advertiser experience. And that's one of my key work streams what I'm working on. And then we are also building a recommender system in order to help improve Amazon advertising experience for our advertisers.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah. With this, the next segment here is that simple tips for aspiring data scientists. To me, the first element is that always question both the data and science whenever you are working on any data science problem. There is never a chance that data is accurate. You always have to question the data, what you are what we're getting in. We also need to question the science, what we are using in order to uncover the insights. Both are questionable at any given point of time. Think of a scenario that you have built the entire data like a sophisticated data science problem on and then you got pretty awesome results. You went to the business, shown your results, and then at that point of time you uncover that, oh, my data was wrong, or maybe whatever assumptions I took in my science was actually had some flaws in that. So whenever we start any business problem or any kind of a question, any kind of a project, always ask questions about what kind of data am I getting in? Am I understanding the business properly? Are there any anomalies in the data? How do I understand features over there? Can I do any kind of feature engineering? Do I have sufficient set of features to build my model? Even when it comes to the model, am I using the right set of models? Are my assumptions of the data and the modeling, are they aligned? Uh, am I having right tools and diagnostics for my model? So make sure uh, we ask right questions at right point of time. And then also, in order to in order to learn this, a good way is that you actually can start reading good articles, primarily on 538 is a very good platform where you actually have a good data driven articles mentioned over there. uh, you can pick up articles on the themes what you are actually interested in, like maybe on sports, maybe on politics, whichever domain you're interested on. You actually can start pick up data-driven articles from there. Start questioning on those. Look, why is this data showing this kind of analysis? What is the science behind it, and all that. Uh, this leads to the second tip is that don't run away from your basics. Basics are very important, and the basics for any machine learning are statistics. Concepts of statistics are that important, like any, so even if you build like a very sophisticated recommender model, we still have to go back to our stats to actually check what is the math behind it. So try to understand the math, like a very simple example can be linear regression. In R and Python, we already have tons of packages which actually can perform linear regression, get the output for it. We can look at the t-test values, we can look at the p-value, r-square. With that, we actually can come up with our conclusions. But a data scientist should not stop over there. We should know what is the math behind how is the regression actually like how are the errors being optimized for. Uh, we should know we should be able to build our own linear regression code at one point of time. If not, we should be at least looking at the source code of it, like how are these models being built up? Understand what's the t-test behind it, like why are these p-values, or like why should we take p-value to be 0.05 cutoff? Why not zero point 0.1, zero point 0.2, right? So question each and every aspect of, of any machine learning inference we are taking in, and try to tie that aspect back to the math. That will actually help you all uncover lots of insights and like clear lots of doubts, right? So to me, like learning data science, it's kind of an exponential journey, right? So if you understand the basics right, the kind of learning what you're going to have is going to be exponentially higher. If the basics are not that strong, it can be it can be an inverse parable as well. So I would like I would insist everyone to focus on basics. The third part I would like to iterate on is build projects end to end. Like you can take any project, maybe on it can be on Kaggle or KD Nuggets, but try to take some projects or on the domain what you like. Don't take the projects what are actually there on the websites or are out on public, right? Because why I'm insisting on domain is that will actually help you understand what kind of insights you would like to uncover from that data, and then you'll be able to appreciate those insights at the like at any end of time, right? So like whenever you're building a project, do a thorough data analysis, right? So data analysis to me is the first step towards data science. So there can be data science without data analysis, but there cannot be data analysis without data science. So it has to be going in a linear fashion. And then try to see if you can deploy your models on some real data to make some real predictions. Uh, that's why I insist on have a project end to end, from the stage where you get your data, you perform a data analysis on it, understand the summaries of it, build your first model, try to tune your hyperparameters, try to know why is this model right for this data, perform the model diagnostics, look at the insights out of it, and then try to convert those insights into a business. So that will give you an end-to-end perspective of it. The fourth key element is review your work. Uh, GitHub is one of the key sources of it. You can even review with your mentors, with your peers, with your colleagues. Make sure the code review is very important. And because that will actually help, especially like the non-computer science folks, to understand what is the good style of coding, what are the good style of reviewing our codes, what are some key elements to be ensured in order to make the codes are all modularized. How can we scale our code to run from a single node to a multi-node to a multi-cluster level? So reviewing our work, reviewing our code is one of the key elements of it.
This
The
is This is really
Yeah.
interesting. And one piece of advice I don't hear often that's probably critical, because even I ran into this and it's kind of rude awakening for myself, because I was very typical in the sense where I love to prototype and build things on the fly, but it wasn't structured that well. And the second I started working with like full-fledged data engineers and having to collaborate with them, it was immediately a shift, because these guys are running highly modularized, clean, well-documented code, which I was not. And it was definitely like a massive kind of learning curve for me to get to that level on the fly. And in hindsight, I wish I spent time focusing on that earlier on, like Christian is just mentioning. I think this is a great piece of advice, and not a lot of people mention it.
Yeah, yeah. Same here. If I was given a chance to start my data science career today, my first step would be on the code review.
Yeah, definitely.
Completely. Then, yeah, be inquisitiveness. Right? Yeah, learn from others. Have meetups. Yeah, now it's all virtual meetups, right? Learn from others. Learn from Kaggle. You can even put, like publish responses on Stack Overflow. You can learn from that. KD Nuggets is a very like nice platform. So try to be inquisitiveness, try to learn from others, um, which leads to my sixth point of storytelling, like translating any insights from the business for the business to consume without hampering the complexity of your modeling is the key element in any professional industry, I should say, about like, because data science is a field which everyone says it's wow, but very few understand the complexity behind it. So it's very easy to cut short the data science, right? And then in the hindsight, think of it like, okay, even a pivot table can come up with this insight. And it's also very easy to actually make others believe that data science is a very huge complex thing, and you do require strong data scientists to actually work on it. So it's kind of a like two-edged sword, sword what we need to carry very carefully. So make sure when we are translating our insights for the business to consume, the complexity of model or the math behind it is not hampered, especially when you have management uh, who are more business driven and are not like tech savvy, right? So that is one of the key advice I can provide it.
This is massive. And I actually put together a YouTube video on this alone because it is such a critical thing, and something I learned at ZS, because in consulting, you need to be communicate really well. You can be one of the best data scientists in the world, but if you can't convey your results, convey the importance of what you're working on, I guarantee you will not excel in your career, right? And that's not even an exaggeration. And Krishna will attest to this. You have to build momentum, and the way you do that is to get people excited and confident about your results and what you're putting together. And that only happens if you have the storytelling component. It's a hard truth that does not get discussed during any education or any masters. It's just so critical. It's like I said, it can make or break your success in an organization, and that's not an exaggeration in the slightest.
Yeah, and the storytelling actually starts from the moment you get the data. It's so don't assume storytelling comes only in the end when you have all the insights. So it starts from the beginning when you so whenever we get the data, we first do the visualization of it, get some initial summaries out of it. That when you start like converting those analysis into a story, and then start telling the story to your leadership, right? And then you try to convert that, like translate your analysis into a model where you say that, okay, if I apply this kind of modeling, these are the insights we actually can uncover. You get your leadership buy-in, and then you start building the model. You go ahead with your first set of results back to the leadership. Again, you do a storytelling over there. Try to see what kind of business outcomes you're getting from there. Translate the business outcome back to the science, and then see what can be your next step, or rather like a next iteration in our modeling. do those couple of iterations before you get before we can get the final insights, what can be finally published to leadership, right? So it's a journey. So storytelling is a journey in the entire data science flow, where which starts from the moment you get the data till the end, where you have the final insights for publishing it. And finally, sometimes step out of your comfort zone. Sometimes, like maybe in your organization, wherever, if you're working, maybe in your own projects you're working on, you might feel that, okay, this is an area, this is like a project, or this type of models are something what I'm very comfortable with. I can flow with that now. But try to come out of that comfort zone sometimes. The reason is that data science is a field which has a very short shelf life. I still remember, like in 2014, back then, linear regression, logistic regression, decision tree had a very good like people were able to sell themselves as a data scientist just by doing a linear regression back then. But and then now like the trend has shifted when it came to 2018 or 2019, when people started talking about XGBoost, neural networks, reinforcement learning. Now now the things are much more advanced in terms of AI, right? So if you see from the transition from last 6 to 7 years, the kind of algorithms or the models what are expected out of a starting or an aspiring data scientist has actually exponentially increased. So if you feel that you are getting comfortable in one kind of a project or in one kind of a algorithmic setup, try to step out of it, try to learn more, try to push your own boundaries. The reason is you never know when the shelf life of your comfort zone would be getting ended on. So with this, I end my presentation. So take data science as a journey. Yeah, it's not a destination. So data scientist is only a beginning of your if you like of your career, and there is so much to uncover, so much to learn down the line. Thank you.
Awesome. That was great. I guess I learned so much from that. Okay, so I stopped sharing my screen. Before we get into the Q&A, because we have tons and tons of questions, I shared a couple things in the chat for everyone. One, definitely check out my YouTube channel. All the previous recordings, etc., are there. This recording will be there, all annotated. Both of our LinkedIns are also in the chat, so reach out to both of us. I think we're both friendly, trying to help people out. So if you need advice, reach out, and one of us can definitely help you as well. Martin, thank you for sharing my YouTube channel as well. I appreciate it. Definitely, like I said, if you could subscribe, I would really appreciate it. It would mean a lot. Oh, one sec. I keep doing that. I'm like making very silly mistakes. Here's the YouTube channel. Like I said, I'll never charge for any of these. So your support through YouTube is all I could really ask in return. With that, let us hop into the questions, okay? So if you guys are coming for the first time, and Krishna, I know this is your first time as well, we'll kind of go rapid fire. I'll ask questions. We'll kind of dialogue back and forth. I want you to be the first one to answer, and then I'll piggyback and riff off of anything you say. And we'll keep this really informal. I'm sure there'll be a lot going in the chat, but let's have fun with this, and I will leave it to you to kick off all of the answers. With that, for the first question, as a civil engineering undergrad student, how can machine learning be integrated within my study?
I think what we can do, okay, that's really a great question, because I need to go back to my 10 years down the path to uncover all my civil engineering concepts. But what I can see is that, especially in fluid dynamics, where we do the simulations to uncover what should be the optimal flow coming out of the dam, or how much should be your what kind of like nozzle flows we need to have. I think all those are currently being run using simulations. One key thing what we can do over there is we can actually have machine learning determine what should be the optimal sizes, right? So you can have different data points being collected using different different uh, what should I say, like kinds of simulations, and then those data points can actually be fed into your machine learning model and let the model give you out what should be the right amount of outcome, what you can expect with varying levels of parameters.
And
So
I would,
that can be one key use case of that.
yeah, and I would say, and I'm not a civil engineering undergrad, right? But I was an engineering undergrad. I would say talk to your professors and your TAs, etc., and bring this up to them. I think you should totally propose this question to them because that is an opportunity for you to get a mentor and also maybe piggyback on some of the research that they're doing. I'm willing to bet the research that your teachers are conducting have some machine learning component, I'm assuming. And so you could potentially get involved there, which I think would be great for your resume.
Definitely, I
Okay,
think they will be able to give you much more better guidance than right now where I
no,
am right.
that's still great. So Scott asks, what are the best ways data science managers can enable their team to be successful? How intimately should the managers be aware of the technical nature of the data science problems they're working on?
That's a great question. The, data science managers, in my opinion, I think at least they should have a good flow of what kind of models or like what kind of analysis the team is performing on. And ideally, like if there are any assumptions or validations being done, those are something what the manager should be able to surface them out and then ensure all the assumptions are being adhered at least, so that the insights whatever are coming out are at least right in terms of statistical point of view.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think as a manager, you need to have about the same technical knowledge. Maybe your programming skills won't be as efficient as, say, a lead programmer or senior data scientist because they're coding more frequently. But at the end of the day, any insight, any model result, any production model is essentially on your neck, right? Because you're the manager. It's kind of, you're the one who has all that responsibility. So if you don't know for sure whether what your team is saying is correct or not correct, it kind of puts you in a really tricky position. You're liable for a lot of kind of incorrect results putting out there, right? And you shouldn't be dependent on just your team to say it's right or wrong. You need to be able to make that call. In terms of enabling your team, I think finding you're a manager, people management is so difficult. Being honest with them and figuring out what type of management style they prefer. Some people like to be micromanaged. They want regular cadence of saying how you're doing. Some people want to be left alone. Um, I am not a manager, but with all of my managers that I have one-on-one to tell them exactly how I like to learn. And I think you could do the same with all of your subordinates. That's a great question. A first I've had. Um, let's see. Anonymous says, do you have any good courses to learn TensorFlow?
The TensorFlow, how I learned actually was through KD Nuggets. So there's a tutorial, and then there's a detailed example on KD Nuggets using building your first neural network using TensorFlow. That was something what I personally learned from there on. But I see there are tons of online material through which we can learn. I think Code Academy is one good thing. Udemy has a course on TensorFlow right now. So
Oh, yeah, I think Google released one on Coursera as well, so you guys should have to take a look at that. I personally haven't gone through it, but it's also another option. Cool. All right, keep moving along. So what types, this is from Anthony. what types of personal projects should I concentrate on? How complex or in-depth should they be for someone seeking entry-level work? I have a master's in data analysis and physics, and I'm a former teacher.
Got it. That's a great point. Um, Physics, right?
Yeah, I get start, and then definitely, yeah, piggyback. The way I like to look at it when you're building any projects, use that as an opportunity to showcase how well you do in the workforce, right? So if your projects are pretty vague and a hiring manager is like, okay, I'm gonna look at this project and this is the type of work he's gonna do for me, that should be kind of how you're approaching the complexity or how in-depth the projects you're working on, right? And I think that's kind of fundamentally how I go about pursuing any new project. And I think I would encourage you to do the same thing. And regardless of your background, I think if you're looking for a project at Disney or Disney Plus and you want to be entertainment data, think about that and build projects along those lines. And Krishna, yeah, I'm sure you have like some other points, but I think the more complex and in depth that you can go, the best, right? Because then you end up learning the most in the long run too. Another thing I would mention, sorry, is make sure you write and showcase your work through some blog posts. That is another great way for you to kind of showcase what you've learned.
Right. I just want to add a point to you, Madhav. Like, yeah, that's a great point. Like, yeah, we need to go deep into that. I think like since you mentioned you had your majors in physics, maybe you can pick up a topic from the physics itself, since you have a good domain knowledge, and diving deep into that through machine learning might actually help you like learn machine learning more, since you need not onboard onto domain knowledge. And then, so that can be a starting point where you can pick up like a project within physics where you feel machine learning can actually be implemented, and then you can have your project go through the end-to-end cycle.
Well said. Joanna asked, what's the value of a master's in data science or a master's in analytics? Can you comment on the value of doing a program like this versus starting entry-level data science job without with just undergrad only?
That's a great question. Right now, as on date, since we have lots of online resources and lots of online materials, I don't think there is any a hindrance from anywhere for us to learn more about data science. So, so it's I say it's like a personal choice right now. It's not a requirement for a master's to be done, but right now it's a personal choice where one can either learn through online and then start an entry-level data science job, or continue to pursue your master's degree and then from there go ahead with it. So both have its own pros and cons right now.
Totally. And I would say if you, all the resources are there for you, but it's a bit of more of an uphill battle without the master's. You will be required to have a pretty comprehensive portfolio to showcase you know what you say you know. Master's kind of gives you that stamp of approval that you definitely have learned what you learned. Whether that's true, but that is kind of how people hire, right? That's how hiring managers are. So keep that in mind when you make that decision. You do have to work harder at your portfolio if you don't go the master's route. Cool. So let's see. Okay. I feel like I need structure to learn stuff like data science. How do we target companies who look for people who are just getting into data science?
Got it.
Actually, let's skip that question. I think it's a bit too vague. Sorry, Mayank.
Oh, no. Let me take a stab at that because the same experience I have underwent when I was working for some clients from ZS. So so what I understood over there was I think in order to even start a data science, right? So the first thing we need to have is, do we have the right data, right? And we also need to know what kind of insights we want to uncover out of the data. So if we have these two, like we have the right set of data, and then what is the outcome of our data, if you know the business objective of it, that should be the starting point from where the next step would be we can start with the data analysis, and then comes the data science part of it. So to me, any company who is starting the data science for the first time should make sure, do they have the right data, and then do they know what kind of insights they would like to uncover from it.
Definitely. This is another question from Anthony, but I think this is a good one that I think a lot of people ask, and that's, I know R, SQL, Python at an intermediate level. Should I get better with those or add new languages? What are your thoughts, Krishna?
My thought is that so R, SQL, and Python are sufficient in order to even even have even go towards like multi-cluster level coding, or a Spark, like PySpark or a Spark R level coding. So getting from basic to the advanced path in R, SQL, and Python would be much helpful rather adding a new language, because because all these languages at the end of the day have to be taken up to the advanced level for us to do the advanced level coding in order to do production grade coding, or some kind of scalable solution. So in my opinion, going advanced into whatever algorithms whatever programming languages we are comfortable with should be the right should be a good way around in order to build a scalable solutions.
Totally agree. I will say, I think you've mentioned PySpark. Definitely, if you have no familiarity with PySpark or Spark at all, I would get accustomed to that. I think for data science positions, you don't need to be a Spark expert, but if you are familiar and you are able to potentially build your code in a distributed fashion, it does make you that much more marketable, because I mean, in data science, and imagine Amazon's advertising data, right? That is just massive, massive size data sets, right? So if you can work in a distributed way, it makes you more efficient, because you don't have to worry about the bottlenecks of like computational efficiency. Cool. So Rajdeep has one question, which I think is great. Let me just finish this. Okay. Is it feasible to do some form of ML research or new development without a PhD?
Absolutely. At Amazon itself, I've seen so folks doing ML research, and they publish pretty good papers in very international conferences. So PhD is kind of PhD to me. It gives you a cutting edge in terms of how do you translate the your machine learning problem or machine learning solution into a paper or into a publishable paper format, for which PhD does give that. But if you have a very good writing skills, I think that should not be a barrier. You should be able to do your own ML research and then publish papers.
I can't talk to that too much. That's definitely all Krishna, and that's great feedback. And I hope that's really encouraging for you guys, because I probably had very similar questions, and it's good to hear. Cool. So Anonymous asks, I've been a machine learning engineer for about 5 years now, and recently I've been thinking about getting my master's in computer science or data science part-time. Do you think this would be advantageous for my career, or it likely not make a significant difference, considering I already have a fair amount of experience? Again, to reiterate, machine learning engineer for about 5 years now.
Yeah. So it's a very tough question, I should say. It's a personal choice. Like machine learning engineer, as far as I understand, is that you have a pretty good coding skills. You know how you can translate a data science algorithm into a scalable code, maybe in Java or C Sharp. Uh, and then which means that you can you can understand the math behind it when you're trying to translate the code. So I think machine learning degree going forward like might only give you an add-on or some kind of a brownie element on your resume, but it's all up to your choice, like how much effort do you really want to put on in getting a coveted degree. But as Madhav mentioned before as well, like machine like any degree is actually good for your resume, but it's all up to you. Like yeah, but looks like that you are already proficient in the at least in the coding parts of machine learning.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. 5 years experience as a machine learning engineer is pretty substantial. That's like you're got to be quite competent at that point. If my 2 cents would be, do it because you really want to and you're passionate about it, not because you need it for your career. I imagine you I don't know what work you've done, but 5 years of MLE experience, I think you can get into most companies. I don't think you'd have any trouble getting into most roles. Like even like all of Fang, I imagine you like being marketable for those roles. It's got to be just for like your passion versus you needing it. How flexible is it for data science professionals to switch to AI or machine learning or vice versa?
Can you come again, Madhav? Like,
yeah. How flexible is it for a data science professional? So we'll say a data scientist, not researcher, but data scientist to switch to AI research, machine learning, etc., and vice versa.
Got it. Typically, all the data scientists, like what I have seen so far, work on machine learning. They do work on having their like building their own custom machine learning algorithms. AI is kind of a next level of machine learning, which would require a strong coding skills as well. So I think going from a data scientist towards a machine learning is a part, but not the vice versa. But I haven't seen the vice versa so far.
But the other way around is more
It's
common.
kind of it's kind of there because you need to go from data scientist towards that.
Yeah, totally.
Cool.
Okay, let's see. So when you're building your portfolio, do your projects have to be from various domains, or do you focus on one particular domain? And this is someone who is an entry level. He's trying to become an entry level data scientist.
Got it. In my opinion, it depends on if you really have a strong preference towards a particular domain. But having a portfolio on multiple domains might be helpful, because you would try to know what kind of different business problems would be coming up in different domains, and then how to solve them. So as an entry level data scientist, so it's like it's better to know different kinds of business domains or the problems, and then that might actually help you. That might actually open doors for different companies you actually want to apply for. One downside would be is that you may not be able to do a real thorough dive deep on any one domain. So that's where my first point comes up, is that if you actually really have a passion towards a particular domain, and then you know what kind of companies you would like to aspire for or go for, maybe then you can pick up that domain, go deep into that in order to show your profession, like a technical prowess over there. But if you are not sure of a domain, and if you're okay to work on multiple domains as well, I would suggest to pick up to pick up projects from multiple domains. Try to have the storytelling habit of translating the machine learning outcome into insights out of these domains, and then which can actually help you out on your resume or to apply for other companies. So.
Awesome. Well said. I have nothing to add there. Jordan asks, when transitioning from engineering to data science, what are some things that should be considered when looking for your first job in data science?
I think the first thing we need to consider is Uh, is my data science job aligned with the domain what I was working on in my engineering? If that is the case, then then you need to learn only the machine learning aspect of it, and then since you already are thorough with the domain, you can shine over there. But suppose if you are switching to a company where there's a different domain altogether, you need to learn the domain knowledge. That would be a hard step where you might have to pick up both the machine learning and the domain skill set. So to me, if you are going into a company which aligns with the domain, just learn the machine learning. You should be able to do well in that. But if you are planning to apply for a company which has of a complete different domain, maybe I would first encourage you to first maybe like brush up all your machine learning skills, have that thorough before you join the other company where you can then focus only on augmenting your domain skills, which might be helpful for your career.
That's also, again, well said. You can, these guys, this is just some great feedback. Awesome, Krishna. Let's see, I'll skip that one. What were the steepest parts of your learning curve when you started working on data science in industry?
Yeah, I had like two key elements which were very steep for me. The first was the coding. Since I'm from a non-CS background, I didn't code much in my bachelor's degree. The coding was one of the key things where and also like initially I learned R and then I transitioned to Python. Uh, both had its own pros and cons. I think I should have done the other way around where Python I should have started first and then R. So to me, like the strong steep curve was the Python coding, and the second one was actually like the how do we translate the math into an into an algorithmic code. So in order to learn that, I used to like go through all the backend codes of scikit-learn or linear regression, like to start with linear regression, decision trees, XGBoost. Look at the backend code of how have they implemented it, how they have scaled it up, how they have translated a data frame objects into vectors, lists, and then they were able to augment the performance of it. So these were two key elements, like the programming language and the translation of math into algorithmic code, were the two key steep curves. What I have faced so far.
Yeah, I would say the programming for me as well. Also because I feel like I might have rushed into my first data science job, so solidifying the basics took some time as well. I think if I would have done it again, I would have been a little more patient and give myself more time to allow myself to solidify the basics. But you live and you learn. But that was definitely the biggest kind of steepest curve for me. Hongyo Kim asks, she wants to ultimately become, or she or he wants to ultimately become a data scientist, machine learning engineer. And she has heard that they recommend becoming a backend engineer first before transitioning into a machine learning engineer, data scientist role. Do you recommend going maybe first studying data science and going that route, or would you actually recommend going the backend engineer and then transition into an MLE role?
I think it depends on how comfortable, how strong you are with your coding skills, and how passionate you are towards building scalable, like deployable production grade codes. So if you are passionate on that, going to the backend engineer and the MLE route would be the ideal one. Or in the other way around, if you are passionate towards data science, like you want to like help business come up with those insights using data, uh, that's when you can actually go through the data science route. So to me, it depends on what's your passion. Are you passionate about coding, or are you passionate about translating or like storytelling insights from data to business? So that should be like a trade-off.
Yeah, it's well said. It's hard to it's hard to make the decision for you. I think you really just got to look at what your passion is. Is your push more on the coding or the actual science? Totally. Let's see. This is actually a question for me. I've been considering pursuing the Harvard Extension School Masters. Can you please share thoughts and advice that you have regarding your experience with the degree? I do not presently have a strong background in programming. I'm working on developing the skill set. So I loved it because it's not so segregated from the actual masters. It's kind of one of the same. Both students from the masters there and the masters online are all working together, which I think gives you a better experience. It doesn't feel like you're getting like a second grade kind of education. I think it's fantastic. I think there's a lot of other ones that are good. So I know Georgia Tech has an online masters that's also really impressive and more coding heavy, if that's your goal. But I liked the Harvard one because it gives you a lot of the fundamentals. So it doesn't require you to have that much knowledge going in, which is what I needed because I didn't have a strong fundamentals at that point. So that's definitely, I thought it was great. I don't regret it for a second. So Krishna, this is for you. What is your everyday on the job like as an Amazon applied scientist?
Okay, good question. So to give you from a math division point of view, right? So I spend 10 to 20% of my time on translating like the business problem into a science problem, like what kind of insights we can uncover out of it, what kind of science we should be working on, like what kind of models we can try out. And then the next 40 to 50 percentage I work on why are we actually using this model? So what kind of data I have, if the assumptions of the model are aligned with the assumptions of the data. So all the diagnostic checks of applying of why am I even applying a model on this data is something what I spend my next 40-50% of my time. And the remaining 40% of my time I spend on storytelling and documenting. So translating whatever insights or outcomes I get out of it, make sure they are validated, make sure I have a buy-in from all my peers. So I do a peer review. So I should say like 10 to 20 percentage is more about translating the business into data science. 40 to 40% is more about like validating all the hypotheses and assumptions of it. And the other 40% is more about storytelling and translating them into documents.
Awesome. Really well said. Next question. I think this is also for you. Most research scientist roles at companies, large or small, generally require PhDs, regardless of level of work experience. Any advice or anecdotes for those without PhD degrees trying to break into ML research? I think you did it, so I think this is going to be a great question for you.
Yeah, that's a great question. Typically, an applied scientist or research scientist does require a PhD degree, or at least a master's degree. Your master's is like essential. PhD is really looked for. And like if you have a really strong strong data science background, especially in a professional work environment, and then if you have strong projects what you can show on, and if you have some credible papers or publishing articles, right, those can actually be your alternates as well if you don't have a PhD degree. So to me, PhD degree is one thing because while you're doing your PhD, you are already publishing your papers and articles online, right? And then you're able to showcase your in-depth, or rather like how can you insist on high standards on some kind of a delivery of a project. Parallelly, if you have similar skills, if you're able to show them even in a real life professional career as well, where you're able to show show some substantial project outputs along with some publishable papers, that should be a replaceable material as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I was actually wondering the same thing. So that's a great question.
That was the route which actually helped me up at Amazon. The other route.
Let's see. As someone who's still breaking into the field, how important is learning Scala at this stage? Is this something I should do later or focus on something else? I'll actually take that. I think Scala is not important at all for becoming a data scientist. If you want to become a data engineer, Scala is absolutely critical. This is anecdotal, but Disney, there's not one data science organization that requires Scala. It's not even tested, not even like leveraged on a day-to-day. All of our data engineering teams are using Scala. If you're trying to be an actual data scientist, maybe PySpark would be good, but I don't think Scala is required at all.
True. Maybe like 3 years back, Scala was important because that time like PySpark and Spark were actually in the like the nascent stages. But now we have most of the algorithms directly on PySpark available, and then you can build your own as well.
And Spark 3.0 I think is very Pythonic in nature. It's very Pythonic. So if you have a strong Python background and you start working with Spark 3 or Databricks, you'll feel pretty comfortable. Definitely, I don't go down the Scala route. Let's see. This is kind of interesting. So what are good areas or domains to utilize my psychology and business background through data science?
It's a domain of psychology, right?
Yeah, and business.
And business. Actually, I have very limited knowledge on that.
Yeah, so you guys should listen to my talk with Daphne. So she came from a similar background. The way you utilize it, and this is after you've gotten the position, which is kind of not the greatest advice, but your communication skills and your storytelling skills are all, you're going to highly over index on those versus the rest of the data scientists, right? So you need to leverage that. So while you're building your skill set, obviously build a strong portfolio, but when you get that job, leverage those business skills to properly handle and talk to your stakeholders and really kind of excel in that round, because that'll kind of help you stand out compared to the rest, because you have a certain skill in business that a lot of people don't. I see that you asked where can we find the talk. It's on my YouTube, so please check out my YouTube, and I'm gonna paste it again, but where is it? Give me a sec. Definitely, if you guys haven't already, subscribe. I really appreciate all of the support. It's so exciting. Let's see how things are looking there. Wow, yeah, thank you so much. Seems like all of you have kind of done me that solid, so I appreciate it. Okay, Cyril has a good question. How did you get through the interview rounds at Amazon? How did you prepare for the coding rounds?
For the coding round, lead code. That was the one what I religiously did that. I use both R and Python, both in order to make sure like whatever comes up during the interview, I should be able to be ready for that. So the lead code was one thing which actually helped me up. And for brushing up my my ML skills, so one thing what I did was I have a good book on ML. Maybe I'll just share the link after this one. So I was going through that book in order to have all my ML skill concepts brushed up. So primarily I was focusing on not on the ML algorithm as such, rather like how like what kind of business questions am like the team what is going to interview me on, they are focusing on, and then what kind of algorithms or what kind of science solutions I can show to that team that what like this is what I'm bringing out on my portfolio, and then and like this is how I can actually empower your team focus on these kind of algorithms as well. So try to focus, try to do a background research on what team you're interviewing on. Try to know what kind of like business related questions they would be having in, and then try to have them known and like rather like have your science translated to that, which is something what you can showcase it back to them.
Sweet. I was actually curious about that, and of course, it's lead coding. Everything boils down to lead coding.
Absolutely for the code.
Let's see. Okay, there's another question that we answered. How do we prepare data science interviews? This is actually really good. Any tips for self-taught programmers, data scientists to break into the field? I think you touched upon that, but I think we go one more. But this question is interesting. Any tips for finding a mentor for those who aren't working in the tech field?
Got it. I think the first step would be through online meetups in order to find those mentors. That can be one. The second step, what I took initially during my master's program was I was trying to reach out to some of the PhD students who were trying to build some algorithms on machine learning. And usually what happens is that sometimes they don't have sufficient amount of time, so you are the one who can actually go look at their data, do something like try to build some ML models for them, and then try to do a dive deep on it, where you actually can have some kind of a mentorship through the PhD student, and like both of you can start publishing articles. So I took that route because back then ML was still being coming up in those days, and there were PhD students who would like to work on ML, but they didn't have sufficient programming skills. So I was able to take my programming skills over there, and they were able to bring their own domain knowledge and all the data, and then we were able to translate that into a good solutions and then into a papers. So that is one route what I have taken. But yeah, right now I think there are like multiple online forums through which we can reach out to different mentors.
Totally. And also LinkedIn. LinkedIn is going to be your friend. I think it takes you 5 seconds to find someone you think would be a good mentor and send them an email, right? They might not respond, but at the end of the day, what sacrifice was that to you to spend a couple minutes doing that, right? It's so easy. Reach out to me. I try to take on as many mentees as possible, but seriously, I think it's foolish not to, honestly, because it's so easy to find people through LinkedIn. Such a quick search. William had an interesting question. Where do you see the future of recommendation systems? What issues you see, or how are some ways they could potentially be improved in the future?
That's a good question. I cannot be more specific since I'm working on it right now, but at a generic level, where I'm seeing is that the industry is right now going more towards contextual driven recommender systems, where so far most of the recommender systems were actually built on I should say like peer based recommendations, where we try to look out what kind of things your peers are working on, or maybe like peers liked it, and those are something what can be recommended on. But right now the industry is going more towards contextual and some kind of self-learning mechanism. The reason is that getting peer data is difficult sometimes. Uncovering peer data sets are pretty huge and have a very high compute cost. That's where is there something what we can take the single entity itself, like it can be like one customer itself, and then try to learn the attributes of the customer in by doing a self learning of it. Like you first try to recommend something, look at the response of it, try to do it, try to recommend other things. So like can you optimize your recommendations at an individual entity itself without need to look at the other peers, right? So that is the next step where the recommender engine is going towards.
That's so interesting you mentioned that. So I had to go toe to toe with a lot of folks, and everyone said, we need to go collaborative filtering. We need to go collaborative filtering. And I was like, we have such rich metadata, like such rich, like seriously, I think it's like 10,000 unique attributes to describe one movie, right? 10,000 unique attributes, right? And so it's so easy to build a representation of a user's interests by all the movies they watch, purchase, etc. And just using a ton, I think content, we say content, same thing, right? Like a
Right.
content-based recommendation engine. Yeah,
Yeah.
just building that, unbelievable results, like unbelievable. Literally, we had one slider where it was automatically curated and the conversion to purchase rate was about 5%. With this, the conversion rate is now 9.5% with just a content-based recommendation engine. But I love the idea of self-learning because that's a little too advanced for us, but something I'll keep in mind, because if they clicked it, looked at it, and didn't engage, that we should penalize something like that moving forward, right? That makes so much sense. I told you guys I was going to learn from this as well, and I'm really excited about that little fact.
Yeah. Think of a scenario where you will have GDPR and you have very few data points. Think of a scenario where we have no data points going forward, where we can't even use any historical data, and we just have to start afresh. So that
have you seen? So if you have all the data, sorry guys, I feel like now I'm hacking this, but have you seen instances where even if you have all the data for collaborative filtering, a content-based recommendation engine performs better? Or do you still believe that the collaborative filtering peer-to-peer is still a better solution for the best results?
To me, I see the content-based collaborative filtering is kind of a is kind of an advanced level of it, because you are handling both peer-to-peer interaction over there, along with you're trying to add some more additional context of the.
But I meant one or the other. One or the other.
Oh, one or the other. Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay. It's very hard. I've seen collaborative filtering working out to be better than only the content-based.
Got it. It's fair.
I've seen the other way around. Yeah.
Nice.
But I think it depends industry to industry and domain to domain as well.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point.
Definitely.
Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Okay, this is answered already. What coding platform is best for machine learning industry, like in your mind?
Coding platform?
Yeah, or like IDE framework.
Oh.
Like how do you typically, what's your like structure when you build your projects and whatnot?
I use Spider a lot. Since I'm working on Python, I use Spider, Anaconda as an IDE for myself. But at Amazon we have internal IDEs as well, what we can leverage it. But externally, I prefer Spider.
Cool. Yeah, I'm all similar. I just use Anaconda typically and Jupyter Notebooks. This is a fun question. What are you excited to learn about in the future?
I'm seeing. I'm trying to see if, like, thinking of like a scenario where we have no data and we have to build models on it. How would we do that? Can there be a science without data? I think that is something what I'm trying to read on, learn more articles on. But because of the strong GDPR rules which are coming up.
That's a really good question. I feel like for me, because I really love the personalization space, and I want to see, can we start curating sequences that are optimal for users? So right now, Netflix, Hulu, etc., they recommend movies, right? They say, you know, this is one thing we think you should watch. Netflix is trying to do it. They're saying like, play something for me. I think if you guys have seen Netflix recently, there's like a reshuffle button, and if you click it, it'll play something immediately. But in my mind, the next step is, it's your Friday night. here are 3 shows back, or two movies that we think is perfect for your weekend, or these are the 3 movies you should watch back to back to back that I think will be fun, or these TV shows. I think the sequence of literally saying we've now curated an evening for you is the next step in like streaming personalization, which I'm really excited about and want to see kind of what happens there.
Yeah, yeah. And can all these happen without any historical data? So that's
Yeah,
the thing.
that's
Can
the
have
next
science without it.
thing. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. This is a computer vision related, and I know that's not your space, but I'm sure you have perspective. As a PhD candidate, I was fortunate enough to work on a number of data science related projects that culminated in a publication of either a book chapter, or a journal paper. However, I'm not certain how these fit in my resume. Are publications worth including in the resume, even if it means extending my resume from 1 page to 2 pages?
Definitely, definitely, because those publications are something what would give credibility on how much dive deep you can go on your projects. How can you translate your projects into a tangible outcomes which can be published online. So I think like I would, yeah, like if I had that kind of publications, I would definitely do that.
Makes sense. Aurelio, that's a good question. So how can you improve your storytelling skills? Just by practicing? Do you guys use any other tools that you start?
That's a great question. I think the consulting experience actually helped me learn my storytelling skills, because we are expected to meet multiple clients. Uh, some of them have some data science background, some of them they don't have it. Some of them are highly focused on business. So trying to articulate the insights towards the person whom we are talking to was something what what has come to me through my professional experience and learning. So to me, yeah, one way can be through professional learning, if you are given that chance. Definitely, like, yeah, like try to explore that option. Or the other way around is reading. I see, like, even there are very great books in which they try to articulate of how we can translate translate an insight into business insights. So I would recommend reading some books as well.
Yeah, I would echo all of that. Went a similar route where I went to consulting. One thing I'd mention, writing about the work you've done, although it's not the same as talking about in person, right? There's a different level of nervousness there. But if you articulate kind of what you worked on in a blog post or whatnot, it's like a pseudo way of exercising your ability to convey complex thoughts in a succinct and concise manner. So that's really helpful. And then if you really want to go the extra mile, record yourself talking about a project. I know it's easier said than done. It's kind of awkward to do, but if you're willing to, that's also a great way to go about practicing how you come off when you are presenting something. I always recommend that, but I know like the likelihood of someone recording themselves is low, but I always like to propose that as an option as well.
Right.
I guess this might be a question for me, but you might have perspective. If you're already a data scientist, but not in a top tier or a hot company, how do you stand out amongst candidates? I'll start because I'm technically in that role, right? I think Disney's big, but it's not a top tier tech company, right? What I do is I'm very active on LinkedIn, and that helps me kind of gain some attention from like FANG companies. And also your blogs, your YouTube, all that stuff really helps. So going above and beyond versus just working, make sure you do stuff outside of work to kind of showcase your talent and your skill set.
Yeah, even I would echo what Madhav has mentioned it. Same thing. Even I do it. I keep. Yeah, I need to update my LinkedIn with my recent work, what I'm working on. But yeah, LinkedIn is the great platform. Writing blog posts, publishing articles, papers, are actually the ideal way of one of the ideal ways what we can do it.
Totally. Okay, so I didn't realize it's 7:05 already. So we're at time, but let's answer 2 more questions and then we'll close for today. Let's see, let's pick a good one. Okay. This is a good question for Chris, and I'll touch upon it after you. Did you ever have imposter syndrome? If yes, when did you get over that hump?
Yes, I had a lot. Uh, First thing, since I was a construction engineer back then, and data science was completely a new field to me, and I joined a consultant firm after my master's, where I have a very little experience of storytelling, very little experience of even doing machine learning at scale, and even very little experience of doing a data analysis as well. So I used to have that imposter syndrome quite a bit initially, since all the peers were very strong in what work they were doing on. I tried to two key factors actually helped me a lot. One thing is the great mentorship what I had from my seniors at ZS, who actually helped me come out of that. And the second thing is that as what Madhav touched upon before, like I used to record my own wordings, or rather like whatever meetings I was working on. I used to listen back again, try to see where are the things I could have improved on, what are my lacking skills in terms of communication or in terms of machine learning, which I can focus on, so that I can be much more confident when I'm trying to uh, like uh, yeah do any meetings or present my articles. Uh, so that's how I actually try to learn on that. I still right now also I have it, but I think that's something what will go off by practice over practice.
Yeah, I've definitely dealt with it quite a bit because, like I said, I think I prematurely got my first position. I think I should have given myself more time, and that first year was brutal. I just what helped me is just really focusing on my growth, right? Not constantly comparing myself against everyone around me. Just focus on every month over month, quarter over quarter. Am I growing? Is my intellectual kind of acumen growing? Am I seeing the growth that I expect myself? Focus on yourself and where you're progressing, and leave it at that, right? You're going to progress at whatever rate that you can, right? As long as you keep doing it, you're still going to end up at a place that's really going to be impressive. So if you just focus on that, that'd be great. Like that, what helped me, and to Krishna's point, I'm dealing with it on a day-to-day basis still, but you learn some things to kind of help yourself not get in your head as much as you used to be. I did have an idea that I want to run by you guys. So I was going to put together a video just very candidly sharing the nitty gritty of how I kind of dealt with imposter syndrome, how it made me feel, the low points, the high points, etc. I don't know if that's interesting to you guys, but I feel like I haven't just kind of laid it all out and give you a open book perspective of how I got through it and what it was like. If you guys think that's something interesting or you'd want to hear something like that, I know it's kind of cheesy, maybe too sentimental, but if you want to hear that, definitely put it in the chat and let me know. I feel like would just been on my mind to do something like that. Seems like there's some yeses, so I really appreciate the responses. I'll definitely tackle that.
I think one thing to keep in mind here is that no one is perfect in each and every aspect of it. So we can even so there'll be pluses and minus among everyone. So even if you have some peers or some leaders whom you feel slightly turned down, never underestimate yourself at any given point of time. that's the strongest learning what actually I had in my thing. Yeah, no one is perfect in every domain or every field.
Totally.
Actually.
It's hard to remind yourself of that, but totally, it's so true. And this is one last talk or one last question. Thanks, Krishna, for staying late. I know you are
No, no.
probably ready for dinner. I work mostly on text processing and natural language understanding. Does getting better at an area in ML good? Wow, sorry. Does getting better at an area in ML a good idea or drawback when you switch to another company, which are different domain like healthcare or finance? So I think he's asking, should he become is being a specialist a good thing or being a generalist?
Um,
Especially he's in text NLP.
right, right. I think what I have seen so far is that even if you are, yeah, even if you go deep into any one of the verticals you want to go, like here NLP, if you want to go deep into that, it's still okay. Even if you want to apply for other companies which have a completely different domain or different verticals of machine learning they are focusing on, because the underlying aspects of machine learning, either you go through the route of recommender systems or NLP or speech recognition, right? The underlying basic concepts still remain the same. Like the statistics still remain the same. Your way of model building, model articulation still remain the same. Your way of using your algorithms like reinforcement learning, if it is being used under recommender systems or in NLP, is the same, right? Only your data sources might change. So to me, it's all up to you. Like if you really want to go deep into a particular field and if you actually have a passion, go for it, because that should not stop from other companies in order to getting you hired. Because at the end of the day, your basic elements of machine learning still remains the same. But again, it's completely your choice. Like, do you want to go deep or do you want to go breadth?
I couldn't say better than that. That was amazing. Amazing answer. A great way to wrap it up. We got through 32 questions. I feel like I know there's still so many left, but that's quite a bit. And I feel like we covered so many different aspects and different topics. So I hope you guys enjoyed this talk. I'm going to try to kind of ignite the frequency next time. So I have a good friend who's a senior analytics engineer at Hulu that is going to be talking with us next month. And I think you guys will love that as well. Very different perspective. He went from just traditional data analytics to building ETL pipelines. He'll be there next. I'm going to post a few things again. So the YouTube channel's there, LinkedIn. So before we do log off and we lose this, request us on LinkedIn, request us or subscribe on YouTube, because all of these new videos about imposter syndrome, resume critiques, our recordings are all going to be on those platforms. So I don't want you guys to miss any new content, any new talks that I'm going to be hosting, right? All of that is going to be there. So please subscribe, support, and I hope in the long run we're able to help you and enrich your ability to become a data scientist. So like I said, I want to keep these free. The only thing I ask for return is some support on those platforms so that at the very end we can give back as well. So with that, I'll conclude. And Krishna, thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining. Seriously, I know you're so busy and this was an absolute blast. I learned a ton, and I'm really I'm looking forward to everyone listening to the recording too, because seriously, your presentation, your answers have been fantastic. And we had 200 people show up and everyone was incredibly engaged. So I think this was an overwhelming success. I'm so glad you could join.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. Thank you all for joining from different time zones and listening to me. Really awesome. Really awesome. I'm
See you
glad.
guys. Yeah, see you
Grateful.
guys. Definitely, I will be posting more videos. I'll post that imposter syndrome, even though it's going to make me feel a little sentimental. But I'll see you guys. Have a good night. Have a good morning. Have a good what have you. I'll see you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.